Hi guys, Norm Norlander here. I would like to show you how to do a tube fly on a Norvise. This is an example of a style of tube fly we might use as a saltwater streamer. It's going to be pretty simple. The tube itself that we're going to use is actually a Q-tip. Be kind of an interesting way to go about it. Set that little beauty aside. And we'll start out by taking our Q-tip and clipping the ends off. I don't need the little fuzzy parts there. Not like so. Okay. Next we're going to select a mandrel. Now your Norvise system is going to come with 3 different size mandrels. Actually you're going to get a couple each. So we'll find out the largest mandrel that we can slip this on, which happens to be the bigger one, like so. Going to fit pretty good. Okay, I'm going to set this on our vise, put their mandrel in, figure out just how far you want it to stick out, about the length of the tube, maybe just a little bit more, and then we're going to lock that in place with a set screw. These 2 set screws will clamp onto the mandrel so it will not slip. Okay, then you slide that on there. It's pretty good, except that you see it's really not terribly tight. We're going to fix that. I'm going to use some tying thread. Use this bright red stuff so you can see what's happening. Now towards the back of where the tube's going to be, we're going to put on a layer of thread. Okay, like so. And you check that. That wedge is on there nice and solid, so it's not going to slip. So that's pretty good. We'll just take and throw in a couple half hitches here. That'll keep it in place. So now we can clip our thread off. Get that out of there. Normally we're going to be tying a whole bunch of flies, and one pattern I should say. And to make this more durable, if you want to coat it with a little bit of either super glue or use one of these UV curing urethanes, just put a little bit of glue on there, give that a spin to cure it. Just light it up with your lamp here, and by golly, that'll last a good number of flies. Now, by the way, when you get to a different size tube, you can take a razor blade, cut that off of there, so you can build that up to fit any size tube you're working with. Okay, now that'll wedge on there nicely. Here's a neat trick that I'd like to do is I'll take my Tygon. This is a transition tube, the soft plastic stuff to hold the hook in place, and I'll put that on before I tie the fly. Just press it on like so. We're going to cut this off, leaving about 1/4 inch or so exposed. Now I can take this and wedge it on there. Perfect. That'll stay there just fine. We're well centered. Good to go. The plastic tubing that we use very often is pretty slippery, and sometimes you find that your tying materials, when you wrap around there, will slip. Neat trick. Some sandpaper. Give your Norvise a spin like this. That'll roughen that up pretty good. Now we'll lay down our base coat of thread here. You really don't have to make this edge to edge. You leave it a little bit open, but just run down, turn, and then come back up. Beginning point about there. I like to put on an underbody, well I guess it'd be the main body on these tubes, and one of my favorite materials to use is this braid material. This is a pearl braid. Looks pretty neat. It would emulate the flashy silvery body of a bait fish pretty well. We'll tie that on. Be sure to put on a half hitch when you're doing your tube flies, because when you set your bobbin up here, there's a tendency for that to slip right off the front of the hook. Okay, what we're going to do here, neat trick guys, you get your super glue out, And we'll put down some glue onto the tube over the base thread, and then we're going to use the vise now to roll on our body material over that wet super glue all the way down to the transition tube, all the way back up here. Perfect. And then build up a little bump at the front here. Show you what that's for. That looks about right. Bring your bobbin over, lash that down nice and firm like. What that bump is going to do, let's trim this out first here, is when we lay in our wings, it's going to flare them upwards. So that rather than having a flat wing that's real tight to the body, it's going to give it a little bulk. I'm going to have a shoulder on this thing. Now you can get artsy craftsy at this point, guys. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of red dubbing. This is Antron, and just about anything will work. But we'll spin this onto our thread. Okay. Oops, could have lost it there. Yeah, we got it back. Okay. Like so. Okay. And when we get the wings and everything covered up there, it's going to look like the gills. Whether we need that or not, gosh, who knows, but it looks cool. Okay, I'm going to use some synthetic materials on this pattern. There's a variety of these things. They're easy to work with, very effective as far as the appearance of the fly. So we'll take a little bunch of this stuff, about 1/4 of what we think we're going to need for the wings. Okay. Now we double this over like so. Cut it in half. And we want to taper this. See, if you just tied this on right now, the end would be square, it'd look like a paintbrush. I mean, that's sort of crummy looking. So take and pull some fibers out here. And of course you pull them out on this end. It does the same thing on the other end. Trick, huh? We're going to take about 1/3 of this fiber, and that's going to be the bottom of the fly, and we'll just tie that in right there, like so. Now you can take and let these spin, as it were, around the tube, very much the same as we would spin deer hair to do our bass bugs and muddlers and things like that. I'll keep it kind of separated here. Turn the vise over, and then this will be the top of the fly. So we pull those fibers over there. So now see, you got the top and the bottom all in one whack there. Okay. Come forward. At this point, I'm going to use the vise to build up the head a wee bit. Yeah, okay. So we get it at about half built, and we're going to lay in our overwing. So we get the long part on top, short part on the bottom. I'm going to use some ice wing, it's called. Again, it's a synthetic fiber. I think it's shredded mylar or something, but it's kind of neat to work with. It looks pretty sparkly. Ooh, my goodness, we got a whole bunch more than I needed there. We'll lay that in like so. Come around on top here and fold this over. There we go. See, by folding it over, one is it locks it in nice and tight there, and the other is you get twice as much material on at the same time. Now see, this is a little bit long. Don't cut it square like this, guys. Lay your scissors down and get that tapered effect that you want, like this. It's just so much prettier that way. We'll add a little bit of darker material. This is kind of a peacock colored material. This particular one, by the way, is angel hair. Similar, different brand, different material. You can mix and match these things. There's nothing that says you have to use just one material, brand, or type all the way through. Really doesn't hurt a darn thing, guys. So we'll lay that on again, a couple turns, and then fold it back. Okay. And again, use your scissors flat, taper that off like so. There we go. Yeah, it's going to come out nice. Okay. Now again, at this point, I'm going to use the vise rather than wrap over and over and over like I'm doing there. Just hold the darn thing and spin the vise. Let your Norvise do it for you guys. It's just a lot easier, does a better job, and it's a whole lot quicker. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more bulk on this. Okay, now we're going to come right up to the front here. About there, okay. And I'm going to roll in a half hitch here just to, so I don't lose my orientation. Now the top wing, use a little bit of this bright green stuff here. And lay on a little patch there. Come over the top right here. Wind back over it like I'm doing. Like so. See how we did that? And then we fold this part over the top. And let that flow in there. What that'll do is that'll carry that dark green color from the wing all the way over the top of the head. It looks real pretty. Okay, that's good. So we'll take just a few turns here to kind of whip finish that off a bit. Trim off our thread like so. Eyeballs. We're going to put eyes on this thing. The way I'd like to do it, guys, is get some of these little stick-on eyes that we have here. And I use my homemade bodkin. I'll pick one off of the sheet. Lay that in right about there. Press it on. And get another one. Rotate your vise around. Lay that on right about there. Oops, I'm kind of up a little bit crooked. So we'll just straighten them out a bit. Got to have that thing looking right. Okay. There we go. Sorry about getting my fingers in the way there, kids. That side looks pretty good. This side still is off a bit. There, we got it. Kind of nice. You can rotate your vise around, get it right where you want it. Now, to keep that in place, we're going to glue them on with hydro here. This is just a real low viscosity urethane, and it cures with the ultraviolet light like so. That'll hold it in place pretty good. And we'll finish up our glue job. Just rotate the vise over, do the bottom side like so. That's going to be pretty darn good. Okay. Sure lights up some of those UV materials, doesn't it? Wow. Okay. Now to build the head, we use a same product. It's just a more viscous thing, and this is about the same viscosity as the epoxies that we used to use. And it works pretty much like the epoxies. It's just a lot handier, not as messy. Okay, that's about the right amount. Now, set that out of the way for a moment, and again, get your bodkin out, and you can take and shape this head, completely encapsulate the eyes, bring it right up to the bare tube in the front. Looking pretty good there, guys. This is kind of the fun part, fussing with these things. Yeah, from a practical standpoint, probably doesn't make much difference to the fish. Light this thing up. So, it's just a pretty nifty way to do it. Now there's some other products that you can use besides these that you would probably want to use your finishing wheel, your drying wheel. It might take an hour or two for them to cure. So we're getting pretty close to being there, guys. Now, one last thing we want to do here is the front end of this. I'm going to trim this back just a little bit with my scissors like so. And then I'm going to use a butane lighter here. Now don't put this right under here, you're going to burn up your fly. You don't want to do that. But just bring it in from the front like so, just lightly. And you'll see that kind of bugle up a little bit. So that does a nice job of finishing it off, and it keeps the materials from slipping over the front. Although they're glued on pretty good, and that's probably not going to happen. So there we go. It's kind of our finished product. Now, how do we rig these things? I'll show you what I do. I've got this set up with tandem hooks. There's two relatively short hooks tied on a leader, and we'll take our leader, run it up through the back end of the fly, out the front like this, drop her down. Now, we'll take this bottom hook and we press it into the transition tube. See what we've got right there, guys? That presses in, and now that hook will act as a keel, and that keeps your fly upright. The one in back, that's tied so that the point rides up. And especially here in the Northwest, when we're fishing salmon out in the saltwater, they tend to be tail nippers, and you'll get them on that stinger hook just about every time. There you go, guys. It's a pretty good example of how you might do a tube fly on a Norvise system. Try them. They really work well. I think you'll enjoy it.